break down another Guthrie Trapp short that breaks down his kind of theory or his kind of way of thinking about the CAGED system, which coincides with a lot of other artists, but he is a great player, so we're going to use him as an example. So if you're unfamiliar with the CAGED system, if you will, or if you need a primer on it, it's good of any place to start. Again, we're in standard tuning, so go ahead and grab your guitar and let's get at it. My name is Keith. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. So before we get started, let's just talk about the gear that I'm using. All the gear that I have here is listed down in the description, and it has affiliate links to Sweetwater. So if you're already planning on buying anything from Sweetwater, clicking one of those links below will definitely help me out and throw me a few cents, because I really don't make any money on this at all. Finally, all the charts, diagrams, graphics that I'm using here on this lesson will be available for free on my Patreon. All you have to do is become a free member and you'll have access to all the charts, diagrams, and you could even ask me questions there instead of in the comments here. And speaking of Patreon, thank you to all my free members, and a special thanks goes out to all the paid members. I really do appreciate it. It helps keep the lights going. All the names are down below in the description. All that fluff aside, let's go ahead and watch this little video that Guthrie Trapp put out that kind of displays what he's doing with the CAGED system and how he thinks about it. Okay, so basically what Guthrie Trapp is doing is running through all the CAGED shapes within the key of G and connecting them with the pentatonic scale. And that will kind of help you identify with the pentatonic scale how to connect those CAGED shapes. So let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper so we can understand this. All right, so for those of you familiar with the CAGED system, this is going to be very familiar territory. If you're not, I'm going to give you a brief primer. CAGED, C-A-G-E-D. Where do those names come from? They come from the open chord shape. C shape right here. So if you're playing a C, that's how you're going to fret it. The next one will be an A. That's your A chord, and it's also the A shape. G, that's your G shape. E, which would be right here. Or here. Actually, it's this one, but that's an E shape too. Then a D. Those are your basic shapes. Now, what do we do with these shapes, and why is it called CAGED? That's why, because let's say we're starting right here in this G. We're going to stick with G for this video. This is an E-shaped G, because if you have an E, slide it up here, that's a G. The next letter in the CAGED system after E would be a D, right? There's your D, but you're going to hold it right here instead. So the next letter would be a C, right? So the C is right there. These are all G chords, by the way, just different inversions with the CAGED system. The next after the C would be the A, another G, then back to square one to the G. So we ran through all the CAGED shapes for that G chord, and those are all G chords, different inversions of G, and that's where this whole thing comes from. Okay, so the point of the video that Guthrie Trapp put out is connecting these, right? So we're not just going to be doing a song and just practicing things like that. You know, it's a good way to kind of understand how the CAGED system works, because you could play that same G chord anywhere on the fretboard, just fretting it differently based off of those shapes. But what he's trying to explain is connecting them with the pentatonic scale. So let's take a look at that real quick. So you have your G here. The root right here is a G, right? So that's the low E string, 3rd fret. That's a G. So we're running through that pentatonic scale, the diagonal. When we hit that next octave for this root, these are both G's. What he's trying to explain is, since your finger's right here already on that root, your other fingers kind of fall into place with a little bit of practice, because he says, oh, your fingers automatically just fall into place. Yeah, in a way it does set you up for them to fall into place. You got to think about it a little bit at first. So E shape brings me right down to this D shape. Why is that a D shape? Doesn't look like a D. This looks like a D. That's because realistically you're not going to be playing a D shape like this. It's easier just to kind of hold it down like that. So continuing on with the pentatonic scale, let's go from root to root. That's another root. This is a G here. Alright, so that's our G there, then up, C shape. Then from this root up to that G shape. We kind of skipped this A, but that's fine. This is also a very good place to play a G chord. So that is how he's trying to explain how these chords kind of connect to each other when you're running out that pentatonic scale. Your fingers will kind of fall into place. You see right there, I set up myself for this C shape, but I don't have to play it like that. I can just do it like this, because that's a triad. This is a part of that A shape. And that sets me up for that shape right there. Now, the reason why that comes in handy is exactly what I just did there. You could just riff on things, and then if you want to land a G chord here, or if you want to land, let's say, the G chord here, you could do things like that, and I know that, hey, I could play that G chord there when I land on it. Now, before we leave here today, I'm going to show you kind of one quick tip to kind of figure out where to actually play these shapes. Basically, it all boils down to the root. You find the root for the shape you're playing. So the way I personally think about it, if I have a root for a chord on any of the E strings, then I know it'll be an E shape or G shape. Let's back up one, and then let's move on from there. The root right here, if it lands on a D string, I know that it's a D shape that's coming up next, right? This is just the way I think about it. Then if I land on that B string, I know automatically I could play the C shape there, or I could back up and just play it like that with that triad. But, and again, let's scooch up. Back to our G shape, which we already discussed. The root is on the high E string. Oh, what about that A? The A shape, right? One thing that I always like to think of is if the root is on that A string, it's an A shape. So no matter where you are on the fretboard, let's say you want to play a D. You find your D, there's our D, I play a D like that. So once you understand where the roots are and how the different shapes correlate to the roots, I think that'll speed up a lot of the learning process for you. At least it did for me. Now, before I let you go, understanding the pentatonic scale diagonally is important, but you're going to also want to know the pentatonic scales that fall under each shape, right? So the D shape, right there. Then we got the C shape. Then the A shape. Then back to the G shape. So understanding the pentatonic scales that fall under each shape is another way to capitalize and use this CAGED system in order to memorize all the different pentatonic scales, because I know it could be a lot of information, a lot of different charts, which admittedly you see a lot on my channel, but once you ingrain in your head where roots are, everything will be so much easier, and you can compartmentalize things as well. So let's say, again, my root right here, I know that I have that D shape and the corresponding pentatonic scale to it, right? A shape. It's all kind of a way to memorize these things is using those K shapes, which I do have a video that I'll go ahead and link here. I explain exactly that, and I wanted to kind of emphasize the fact that, hey, it's not really that hard, and once you kind of master the cage and understand that each shape correlates with a different kind of pentatonic scale, then it'll start to click with you. Well, anyway, if you like the video, I would appreciate you hit the like button, or is it a thumbs up? Whatever it is, please do that and leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. And super thank you to all my paid patron members. Again, all the names are in the description. I really do appreciate that. And don't forget to hit that Sweetwater affiliate link, because I don't make any money off of this. This is just kind of like a passion project, but I freaking love doing it. With that said, I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you later. Thanks. I mean, that looked pretty good. I mean, it went right towards the lens.